What is going on, everybody? It is Brent Abel here, goldballhunting.com. That dude over there with the coffee, the second cup of coffee, I believe. Yeah, the Roger Federer, you know. Anyway, Jeff Jacklich.
Just so
Yeah,
you can get that right.
in the house. Guys, listen, thanks for hanging out with us today in their episode of the Gold Ball Hunting podcast. And today we're to talk about how power can get you in trouble. And it happens way more often than you think. So guys, hang in there with us on this episode because we got something good for you today.
So the big question is this: how are tennis players like us who never played on the tour, weren't incredible juniors, or maybe got a late start to the game, how do we consistently compete at our highest skill level without having to grind through endless hours of on-court practice time and still be in the hunt for the victory match after match? That is the question, and Gold Ball Hunting gives you the answers by helping you eliminate your skill level range so that you build a strong foundation of confidence. My name is Jeff Jacklich, and along with Brent Abel, my partner, welcome to Gold Ball Hunting.
Well, Jeffrey, what is going on there, man? Today is Wednesday as record this, but looks like it's Saturday, I guess, right?
Saturday.
This
So
is
I'm going to
Saturday.
assume
It's coming out on
assume it's raining because that's the forecast on this Wednesday, that Saturday is 80-90% chance of rain.
Ouch.
I'm going to assume they're corrected. When they hit those percentages, things, and it's this close to the day, they tend to be right. So as much as we hate weathermen and all that,
let's see.
Predictability.
Well, same actually for here too in the desert. I'm looking at Saturday's forecast. Morning showers. That could be a problem for the tournament. I mean, as we record this on Wednesday, they're getting rained out all day here today, which means that at some point they'll have to catch up and play 2 rounds of the round robin. And that will not be fun for the guys because all the matches are tough. So this will be an interesting year in terms of all the other years. The weather's been great, but this year, Wednesday,
they have to change the format.
Yeah,
right?
and who knows what they're going to do. Anyway, we're here at the Crable Masters. That's a tournament that we're talking about, which is happening all week at the Mission Hills Country Club, Rancho Mirage, California, the California desert. Jeff, we want to talk today about how power can get you in trouble, both in singles and doubles. And, there's way too often where, both of us get emails or comments saying, I want to get more power on my forehand. Okay. And, my question's always, well, how come?
Right.
And they always say, well, isn't that more difficult for them? And I go, well, gosh, I kind of like it when I get power because that means one of at least 2 things, or maybe it means 2 of 2 things. I'm not sure what I'm trying to say here. It might mean 3 of 2 things. That might not be a possibility. But number 1 is when I get power, I have less stroke technique I have to bring to that point of contact to be able to send the ball back there with power of its own. All I have to do is kind of receive it with a whole lot less technique. Everyone says, God, I can't stand playing against players who just kind of push the ball around. And I said, well, that's because you got to have really good technique to be able to have swing speed that's got spin that controls your own generated power off of a ball that's just sitting there for you. That's not easy. So I understand why you like it when you're playing up or you're playing someone who they keep pushing the ball in my racket.
Yeah.
This is so easy. Wow, I look great. Okay. Guess what? If we're playing, I'm not going to give that to you because I know you don't want that. So that's one thing. But the other thing too is if someone gives me power and they haven't really, and here goes a term that I shouldn't be using, it's kind of, techno babble. But if someone gives me power and
get my coffee now.
Yeah, okay, there you go. And they haven't bisected the 2 extreme angles that they've given me, right? So every time, like if they give me power to a corner, And now geometrically they've opened up the court for me. Okay, it could be that when they gave me the power, they were not in the middle of the court. They were off to the side. Now all of a sudden, wow, I've got the ball. They're stuck over there.
Right.
And this thing over here is like the lower 40. What could be better? So I guess, guys, you got to be careful what you wish for, because you can actually develop power in any stroke. But if you're not then in the right place on the court after you give power, you got a problem.
Right.
You got a problem.
The question is, in that particular moment, how fast do you want your opponent to have the ball on his strings? And if you don't understand the geometry of the court, the geometry of what you and your opponent have created at that moment, who's doing what to whom, sending the ball back quicker may be your quickest demise in the point, maybe your quickest route to losing the point. And so it's really important that you recognize it's not just how do I hit the ball with more power. It's really, the use of that power, when and where to use it. I know tactically, I use this all the time, and I'm not divulging any secret or anything, because it's still tactically the person has to deal with it. I love to hit that softer ball up the center of the court, a big full length chip where I'm hitting backspin on it and it's got arc to it, and the ball kind of checks up right around the baseline and it doesn't move through the strike zone very fast. And so I love delivering that, because I get guys all the time that just want to crack the crud out of that ball, and they end up just sending the ball out, because to generate your own pace off of a ball that isn't giving pace technically becomes a challenging exercise to do it, and to do it well. So as a player, when you say, I want to hit the ball harder, more power, there's a contextual element to it that needs to be addressed, and so that has to be something that you should be talking with your pro. Talk to Brent and I mean, like, we want to know, like, because that answer, that request in and of itself is so ethereal. It's so, it just sounds great. I can hit the ball hard.
Yeah. Well,
okay.
Look, it's a hypey thing out there, right? It's a
right.
hypey thing online with
10 times more power.
Yeah.
Okay, 10 times. Let's see. I'm already hitting the ball at 60 miles an hour. Now I can hit it 600 miles an hour. I'm in. And okay, the next question is, can I get it to land in the court? And if that's a true statement, then how do I do it?
Right.
600 miles an hour. I'm in.
10x. That's great. Yeah, that's not very hypey. So what's the solution, rather than, because look, we can all under controlled situation, a slow underhand feed, a ball machine feed, and whatever it is, we can eventually rip balls around the court. But once we get into a match, it's just a different reality. You can't do that on a consistent basis.
Right.
There's you just can't do it. And so for me, when I think of power, I think of how can I get the ball up out of the guy's strike zone. I don't think of power in terms of how can I get it to really, fly past the guy from one corner to the other.
Right.
Right. So if I've got an opening, rather than standing there and waiting for the ball to come to me and then just unloading to that corner, because the longer I wait, the guy's going, well, I'm coming back in the middle, and
right.
that, and you're going, come on, get to me, and there's kind of a recipe for a big old fat chunk that doesn't stay in the court. I try to think more about how can I take time away from this guy, and so for me, if a guy's over in a corner and he gives me power, and the obvious opening for me is somewhere up the other side of the court, I'm not going to say up the line, because I don't want players thinking, well, here we go. I'm thinking of the big, wide open spaces. I'm not thinking about, well, how am I going to stand here and technically deliver swing speed that ends up with power to that? I'm going to just try to take that ball as early as I can. I'm going to try to take
Right.
time away, not by hitting power, but by trying to take the ball away, take time away that I get on that guy's shot as
Right.
soon as I can. And lots of times from then, I'm now in a different court position. He's giving me the ball. It's a bunt. It's a
Right.
bunt to the open court that is almost not missable.
Right.
I wouldn't
Right.
say 100%. I wouldn't say 100% guarantee because that would be kind of hypey too. But
Right. I think, the different explanation of, taking the ball early, taking the ball on the rise, all these different terms that are thrown out there. And the reality is this is the way I explain it, is that can we take some flight time off the ball? Rather than, is it possible to take the ball 6 feet earlier rather than 6 feet later? Can I take the ball a foot inside the baseline, 2 feet inside the baseline? I'm not talking about short hopping a ball, but if a ball is hit with pace to you and it's fairly linear and that ball lands around the service line, that ball is going to carry through the baseline very easily. So you can either, and it's going to hover in the apex of that arc for a longer distance if it's hit with pace and it's hit a little more linear. It's not going to have this big arc to it. So in those situations, that ball, hope I'm not getting too technical here, but that ball is going to hang in the arc of that flight pattern a little longer in that arc. So if I take the ball 6 feet earlier rather than 6 feet later, I'm actually taking 12 feet of flight time off the ball. People are going to have to think about that. And so that 12 feet translates into what you just said. I just took away one of his shuffles back to recovery.
Yeah, right.
Now I have forced him, and I didn't hit the ball any harder than my standard rally ball, right? To the new target. And so now what I've done is I've forced him to speed up his recovery and prep. Have I shortened that time span a little bit to make him feel a little uncomfortable? Does he hit the ball 5% off the center of the racket now? Does he hit the ball 5% less spin? Does he hit the ball 5% less accurate? And we can just go down the list. And those are the unknown variables of what the fallout is of simply taking a ball a little bit earlier than later. And so would I want that? Do I want my opponent hitting the ball 5% less accurate, 5% less pace, 5% less spin? Of course I do. All right, of course I do. So it's just an understanding of that. So that's the way I explain it is can I take flight time off of the incoming ball without disrupting my own,
Well, no, I love that. I mean, I love that situation. You get a guy over and he just unloads on a forehand from his forehand corner, whether he's righty or lefty. I like to almost invite it because unless it's on the line over here or it's on the line over here, I feel that I can now get to those 6 feet. And lots of times it's nothing more than just sort of figuring out how can I receive this as if I'm a backboard.
Right.
I don't need fancy technique. If I can receive it, and Fed does this better than anyone. He's got more grips than anyone. He knows where to put his hand on the racket to receive the ball, not where he's got to fight it.
No.
And so all I'm doing is redirecting it, borrowing pace, and now, like you just said, on this one particular point, I've taken time away from the guy, and now he's running over there, scrambling, trying to do something.
Right.
What's to say in the next situation? Let's say 2 or 3, 4 points down the road, same exact situation. He's over there with a big forehand. He's going, I didn't like what happened last time when I actually kept the ball, off the line here and off the line there, and I just ripped it, and Jeff took it early, 6 feet early, and maybe so. This time he's not going to have a chance to get the ball. I'm ripping this up the line. Hey, beautiful looking swing, lots of power, dude. Sorry, man, but it missed by about 3 inches.
Right.
So there's a lot of residual benefits that we get down the road in the match.
Right.
Where if
what seeds are you planting? What seeds of pressure are you planting as you do some fundamental work without, trying to exit the point too early, without, going for the lines, without just creating pressure it's a little intangible for your opponent when you start to actually grab the ball earlier, but not necessarily hit it harder than your normal rally ball. When you just simply take flight time off the ball and hit it early. And I'm not talking about taking a ball a foot inside the baseline either, and then deciding to turn it into a approach shot. I'm talking about just this natural, kind of a natural ebb and flow across the baseline as you're managing your baseline. And so anyway, I want to make that clear too. I'm not talking about, taking a ball and just automatically making it an approach, because it doesn't, it's not necessarily going to fit that mold.
I think technically, if you want to learn how to get more ball speed and a higher quality spin, and look, we need a high quality spin to control. Let's call, power is not the right word, because power to me brings up this thought of strength, and
right.
and it's not. You look at the
grip tension.
Yeah.
Tension.
If you look at increasing ball speed and the need to increase quality spin to control the geometry that we have, we only got so much room. It's not like a baseball field where you can swing for the fences, right? I mean, you can swing for the fences here in tennis, but you've got to have a spin to control the length. And the best way to do that is to do the opposite of grip tension, of strength, is to actually release grip tension and just feel how relaxed on the grip. This is assuming you've got your hand in the right place of the handle.
Right.
Assuming that. But can you actually feel that you're kind of relaxed on it? Because if you are, you will bring in more racket speed and you will naturally bring in more quality spin. It's when we get grippy, fighting the power. We're trying to hit power. And the next thing you know is the ball is just flying all over the place. Or you've got so much grip tension, it starts off fine and then it just falls off the table. So that's your technical thought for the day. I almost said tip and I went, uh-oh.
Don't do it.
Okay, sorry.
I'll hunt you down like a rabid dog.
That's your technical epiphany to start to get the feel. Which, by the way, is what I've been working on the last 3 times I've been out in the court. All I've been thinking about is just what's the feeling I want in my hand on the racket. And for me, I have a tendency sometimes, look, I'll be honest, I have a tendency sometimes to get a little too strong on that grip.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not I'm trying to hit power, but it's just that sometimes I don't really kind of let it go. And it just ends up.
That is one of the easiest things to not be aware of, is grip tension and the fact that you're white knuckling the racket as the match starts to get more intense, as the match gets tighter, as you make a few errors and you get a little frustrated with yourself, blah, blah, blah. Grip tension is probably the most elusive thing that players, by and large, are completely unaware of in the process, and why the match now is starting to tailspin.
Hey, I'm going to give someone a great business idea here, and if you're a smarty pants out there, and clearly I'm not, Jeff is, higher on the smarty pants scale than I am.
I don't know about that.
But we're talking about a smart engineer guy, and I've always thought that this would be an incredible teaching aid, which would be some way to measure grip tension, literally measure it on your racket, so that that data could be somehow transferred to video, so that you're videoing a match and you're also getting data on grip tension,
real time.
And my hunch is that when the match gets to 4-all or 5-all, all of a sudden the grip tension meter's going bang, bang, bang.
Redlining, spiking.
Right. Yes,
it's like a Richter scale.
Yeah,
right. It's just like going nutty. That's a 4.0. That's a 6.0. Buildings are falling.
I think I've told you this story, Jeff. I'm sure I have, but I'm going to tell it anyway. For those of you guys who haven't heard it, this must have been 20 years ago. I was teaching on a private court in Orinda, And I had a group of guys that would show up once a week. And so I found this thing, or someone turned me onto it, but it was a real thin overwrap that was made for golfers for their, and it had a little, kind of a little metal thing coming out the end of it that would, I'm not sure what the point of that was, but if you got, and it was already, there was a default calibration that if you got too strong on the handle in the golf swing, it would start making audible beep, beep. And so I took this thing, I put it on a racket, on a tennis racket. I thought this was brilliant. Sure enough, it worked. And it always, like at contact, it would always beep, just because there was this.
Right. Yeah. You naturally grip a little tighter.
Well, even if you didn't grip, there was a concussion with the ball.
Right. Right.
And so it would always go off then. And so I was just helping these guys sort of with what we're talking about today, is trying to get more racket speed, but a higher quality spin through less grip tension. And we had 4 guys. The first 3 guys, they'd come up to the net post, and I'd put it on the rack, and they walk back, and they start hitting a few balls. And after a couple balls, I go, okay, it's 30-40, beep, and so
just saying the score. It's not even the real score. You're just saying it, and they go back, and it's like, right.
So, and some guys would do it in the serve, right? They'd get ready, and they'd write. At some point, you could hear it. That would be the moment. They go, oh, okay, and that would be great feedback. Then they go through it, and it wouldn't beep again. Finally, got down to the 4th guy. One of my favorite guys from the BTC. He comes over, and I put the thing on his racket. I swear to God, we're up at net, and he's 2 steps away. Beep. Going,
dude.
I'm going. You think if it's happening here, it might be happening out there. He goes, yeah, God, I'm just kind of, I'm so tight. I said, all right. So anyway,
yeah.
And so if anyone out there super smart, let's kind of do this project together. I've given you the idea. You go figure out the technology. We'll market and sell this thing and make $1 gazillion off it. But I just think if we had some kind of a overwrap to go in a tennis racket that would Bluetooth to
your phone
to video or something.
Right.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe the phone or something, but somehow so the data gets recorded in terms of when there's too much grip tension going on. And we would be able to see, wow, that had too much grip tension. You see how that ball keeps landing short.
Right.
Every
time your grip tension got to X, this is what happened to the ball.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And conversely, you know what? Now the next game, the same exact situation, but you've already had the feedback on grip tension. Now you relaxed it in that thing, and here's the proof right here. So, dude or dudette, if you're a smarty pants, go out.
I'll get on that.
Just do it. Jeff, we haven't talked about the free coaching call. We got a free private, the 3 of us coaching call. Whatever it takes, 10, 12, 15 minutes. Let's jump on a call together, and let's dig into your game, kind of find that one thing right now that if we really went after it for a month, it would make a significant difference, putting you towards that or getting you towards that result you want, singles or doubles. The way you get on that call, go over to goalballhunting.com, drop in a first name and email address. Click the button, of course, and you'll get access to our calendar. You can schedule a time that works cool for you. Jeff, what do we want fine folks to do right now?
Like us, share us, please subscribe. Let us know what you think down below. iTunes and Stitcher, rate and review. Goldballhunting.com. Spread the word. This is the Truth Factory.
Truth Factory. Oh, guys, get out there. Get out there. Play your 3 practice sets this week and help yourself become a better player. Jeff, let's do this again tomorrow.
I can't wait.